Hi, I'm John Fortune, and today I'm going to read a book not about one person, but about 4 people who changed the world. Have you heard the names John, Paul, George, and Ringo? If you haven't, your parents and probably your grandparents surely have. Ask them. Go ahead and ask them right now. I bet they know who I'm talking about. These 4 men are also known as the Beatles. They were a famous rock and roll band in the 1960s and 70s, and their music inspired generations of musicians. Even today, people still listen and sing along to their many hit songs. Let's learn more about these 4 men, both individually and how they came together as a band to create some of the world's most enjoyed music. This book is from a series called Ordinary People Change the World. And I find these books to be fascinating glimpses into some very special people. The book is called We Are the Beatles by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Iliopoulos. We Are the Beatles. I'm Paul McCartney. One of my earliest memories is of lying on the floor and listening to my dad play piano. Learn to play piano and you'll get invited to parties. I didn't take fancy lessons, I learned by ear, just like him. I am John Lennon. When I was 5, I went to live with my aunt and got my first musical instrument, a harmonica. If you can play it by tomorrow morning, John, it's yours. You got it. My aunt made me wait until Christmas, but getting that harmonica was one of the great memories of my life. I grew up in Liverpool, England. It was a hard-working place. We didn't have much money, but it was home. Come on, Paul, you're late for the barber. What barber? The one we always go to, on Penny Lane. That seems like it'll be important later. Liverpool is a city with lots to explore. I loved investigating these grounds not far from where I grew up. What's this place called again? It's Strawberry Field. Now, let's go. I feel like that's going to be important later too. One of the best parts of Liverpool was it had so many great music stores, packed with interesting new bands and songs from America. That gave me what I loved most, new music. When I heard the song Rock Around the Clock, I felt a tingle up my spine. They even had a new term for it, rock and roll. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. I loved Little Richard, and I'll never forget the first time I heard Elvis Presley sing Heartbreak Hotel. My whole life changed from then on. John, what is that noise? This is it. This is what I need to do. I wanted to make music. For my 14th birthday, my dad got me a used trumpet. I started on the harmonica, but eventually switched to the guitar. Since it was way more rock and roll, I started dressing the part too. John, you're putting Vaseline in your hair? Trust me, it's cool. When I was 14, my mother died of breast cancer. For me, music is more than just something you listen to. In those moments when you're down, the right song can lift you up and make you forget all about the pain. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Want to know what else has power like that? New friends. I'm George Harrison. I also grew up in Liverpool, though my favorite parts were out in nature, walking along the mud cliffs and through the woods. One day, I heard Elvis singing Heartbreak Hotel. It changed the course of my life. Down to the end of a lonely street. Soon I became obsessed with guitars. I daydreamed about guitars, In school, I'd draw them. You really love guitars, don't you, George? I even tried making my own guitar. But once, as I over-tightened the strings, snap! Eventually, my mom bought me my own guitar. She'd stay up until 3 in the morning sipping tea and cheering me on. She knew nothing made me happier than creating music. Brilliant, Georgie. Thanks, Mom. At 13, I met another student who was on my bus. You like music? Me too. I'm George Harrison. I'm Paul McCartney. Nice to meet you, mate. Paul met John when Paul was 15 and John was 17. He was with his band playing the song, Come Go With Me. But since he didn't know the words, he made up his own. Down, down to the penitentiary. Backstage, John liked the fact that Paul knew all the words. To 20 Flight Rock, that's not a popular song. I dig it. You're a passionate one, Paul. Paul was as good a musician as John was and could play even better. John had to ask himself the question, was it more important to be a great individual or to make the group the best it could be? Would you like to join the band? Even back then, we knew that making rock and roll wasn't easy. It takes hard work. This is how we practice. Since Paul was left-handed, our guitars faced the same way. I'd learn the chords upside down, then go home and reverse them. He was my mirror, my model, my equal. At the start, it went pretty poorly. This was the moment I was supposed to play my first solo. I was so nervous and scared. Get ready, Paul, you can do it. I couldn't. I felt everyone staring at me. After the show, I told John I couldn't be the lead guitarist. We still needed somebody to play lead. But I had an idea. John Lennon, meet George Harrison. This is your great guitarist. What, are you 14? I'm 15. Trust me, he can play. George could most certainly play. He knew more chords and made us better guitar players. There you go, mate. You've got it. Now all we needed was a proper name. For a while, we were Johnny and the Moondogs. What if we start with the, so we're not featuring just one person as the star, and our name could have two meanings, like something cool and crawly, but also with a beat. Let's give a big welcome to the Beatles. These guys aren't very good. He was right. We were crummy, terrible, an embarrassment. After time, we added a drummer and a few different members. The sound didn't get much better. Soon, people stopped hiring us. Even our family started to worry. The guitar is all right for a hobby, John, but you'll never make a living at it. Eventually, we got an offer to play in Hamburg, Germany. The club was filthy, and the housing was so bad you could smell the toilets, but it gave us experience. We'd like to play some Ray Charles for you. This is a song called What Did I Say? What did I say? During multiple trips, in 38 weeks, we played over 1,100 hours. The next song is called What Did I Say? What did I say? That's 3 hours every night for almost a year. The next song is called What Did I Say? I kind of liked them. What did I say? We arrived there as boys. What did I say? And we left as men. When we got back to Liverpool for the first time, we were really cheered. What did I say? Oh my, they're good. They're better than good. They're incredible. From there, we got some professional help. I'm Brian Epstein. I'd like to manage you. But I've never managed anyone before. Well, we don't know anything about being managed, so we could all try together. Then we got new outfits, I like the suits. You'll look like no one else. And at the end of each song, you need to bow. Bow? Trust me. And a brilliant recording studio. Gentlemen, welcome to Abbey Road. There was only one thing missing. I am Ringo Starr. I grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Liverpool. I was sick a lot as a kid and spent almost 2 years in the hospital. I'd stare out the window, just wishing for someone to play with. At 8 years old, I heard Gene Autry singing South of the Border. This song is sending shivers down my backbone. When I was little, my family gave me different instruments, but my favorite was the drums. We didn't have much money, so I made my own set from biscuit tins. I didn't even have proper drumsticks. But drums are my life. For years, I practiced and played with other bands. Then one morning, the Beatles manager came to my house. We need a proper drummer, and you're the best. You ready? Give us a minute to get a cup of tea. Once Ringo was with us, the band felt complete. By the way, you guys got any songs? Back then, what set us apart was that we wrote our own songs. Songwriting isn't easy. This one's called Love Me Do. I do like it, but it could use some harmonica. Oh, a harmonica would be brilliant. We wrote music the same way we used to practice guitar, eyeball to eyeball. Writing a great song requires patience and perseverance. Instead of She Loves You, yeah, 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 what about the more proper yes, yes, yes? Dad, that's terrible. The first draft you write isn't usually the best draft. This one's called Please Please Me. Can you make it faster? Oh, that's all right, yeah. When we're done recording, they told us, Gentlemen, you've just made your first #1 record. And all we had to do now was to convince the rest of the world. In America, our first 3 singles flopped. Then the 4th one came out. Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles. Let's bring them out. It was called I Want to Hold Your Hand. I Want to Hold Your Hand. Sunday night, February 9th, 1964, we played live on the Ed Sullivan Show. 73 million people were watching. Elvis himself sent us a telegram. From there, it was Beatlemania. The more we played together, the bigger we got. And the more we evolved and advanced, we tried on new styles. The Fab Four have another #1 gold record. We can't wait for the next song. And made movies, even cartoons. But what made us the Beatles were the songs and how well we worked together. I asked the driver how he was doing. He said, working hard, working 8 days a week. Love, let's start with that. Oh, I need love, baby. One of us would have an idea, and it would be like a poem. There are places I remember. I like that one, mate. Then we'd go back and forth on it until it was done. Dazzy Day Da Zoo picks up the rice in a church where the wedding has been. You need a better name. How about Eleanor Rigby? Brilliant. Over time, we experimented with new sounds that mixed folk and blues and all the other music we loved growing up. And we traveled the world, perfecting our skills on groovy new instruments. I do love this sitar. But we never forgot where we came from. Penny Lane, where the old barber shop was. Strawberry Field, the place I used to run around. Most of all, we challenged ourselves. I'll write a song based on the first words I see in this book. Gently weeps. And push the boundaries. But want to know the real secret of the Beatles? Each of us made the others better. So the album cover isn't just white, and we'll distort the music even more on this one. Cellophane flowers and newspaper taxis, kaleidoscope eyes and looking glass ties. As the band got more popular, our ideas got bigger. For the cover of the new album, let's show a bunch of people we admire. Like Einstein, Laurel and Hardy, Lewis Carroll. It'll be a big collage, something you can look at and study for years. We went to the local costume shop. Everybody pick a color. The result was music history. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band in 1967. We wrote songs for good times. I have it. It's called All You Need Is Love, and songs for tough times. John, I got inspired thinking of your son and all he's going through as your marriage is ending. The song's called Hey Jude. The song's too long. DJs won't play it. They will if it's from us. Of course, some songs took on a life of their own. One day I woke up with a tune in my head. Scrambled eggs, oh my baby, how I love your legs. John and I worked on it for weeks. Wait, I have a title for it. Instead of scrambled eggs, what about yesterday? All my troubles seem so far away. We shouldn't put drums on that. We'll hire a string quartet. The last live gig together was on a rooftop in central London. For the album, I had the idea for a title song after a dream about my mother. In the dream, she told me, "It will be all right, just let it be." Those were the whispering words of wisdom, and we called the album Let It Be. You're singing along right now, aren't you? In our lives, we were working-class teenagers. We didn't go to fancy schools or get expensive lessons, but we found what we loved, making music with our best mates. Life isn't meant to be lived alone. Here's our secret. Find what you love and find friends who love it just as much as you do. Laugh together, dream together, create together. Make each other better. When it gets hard, you'll be able to get by with a little help from your friends. The Beatles are the greatest influential and best-selling band in history. They have more #1 hits than anyone else. They were only together as a band for about 10 years, but recorded more than 200 songs. John eventually bought his Aunt Mimi a house. Inside, she kept a framed plaque that read, "The guitar is all right for a hobby, John, but you'll never make a living at it. Whatever your dream is, keep chasing it." Did you know that when it comes to their favorite Beatles songs, the writer and artist of this book both love Here Comes the Sun? They used it to sing it to their kids. Try it with your parents. Do-do-do-do. Individually, we are one note. Together, little darling, we are a song. There are 4 of us, but really one of us, all our hearts beating at the same time. The best music is the music you make together, and the essential message will never change. Love is really all you need. We are the Beatles. Come together. Wow, what a great story. I like this story because it's different from some of the others I've read. John, Paul, George, and Ringo didn't become famous on their own. They became famous by working hard together. We call this teamwork. Each person added their own value to the group, which made the group successful and fun to listen to. They helped each other get better by focusing their energy on the group's success rather than just on their own success. If you play sports or in a band or any other group activity, we often hear the word teamwork from our coaches and leaders. They inspire us to practice as individuals so we can help the team achieve higher success. When you get better, the whole team gets better. You add your own value to the group, just like John, Paul, George, and Ringo did. I hope someday you had the same success as they did. I'm John Fortune and want to thank you for watching Lunenburg Storytime. See you next time.
Hi, my name is Donna Fortune, and today I'm going to read you a book about an ordinary person who changed the world. The title of the book is I Am Sacagawea, written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Iliopoulos. I love technology, science, things that move, and I love visiting new places. I'm a very curious person, and I enjoy learning about the world, its animals, cultures, and ordinary people like you and me who've done some pretty awesome things. I chose this book because, like so many other people, I think Sacagawea was an extraordinary person who was a very brave trailblazer. She accompanied the Lewis and Clark expedition as an interpreter of Native American, indigenous peoples, languages. She was only a teenager, and her skills in translation were incredibly important to their success. Let's read the story about Sacagawea to hear more of her extraordinary accomplishments. I am Sacagawea. What do people expect of you? Your family, your teachers, your friends, do they expect you to be a good person? Do well in school? To keep your room clean? People had different expectations of me. In fact, they didn't expect much of all. Why? It was a different time in America. Back then, they didn't think much of people who looked like me. Someone who was a girl, someone who was young, and someone who was Native American. When I was born, the United States was still a brand new country. George Washington was just becoming president. But my people, my tribe, which was called the Shoshone, had already lived here for thousands of years. This is my father. He was chief of our village. And this is my brother. We lived in what is now called Idaho. The United States was so young that Idaho didn't exist yet. The snow is arriving. It's time to move on. When winter came, the women of our village would pack up our lodges, our homes made of brush we lived in during certain times of the year. In spring and summer, the whole village would move to an area where there was better fishing. In fall or winter, we moved to different areas for different food. When I was around 12 years old, our Shoshone tribe was attacked by another tribe. They captured me and took me back to their village. From there, I was given a French-Canadian man and became his wife. That's when I was given the name you know me by, Sacagawea. So no one knows her real name? That's right. And she was only 14 when she was married? That's how life was back then. War captives were treated like property, something that could be given away. But lucky for me, my life was about to change. I'm Meriwether Lewis. I'm William Clark. We're explorers, and we need an interpreter. Someone who can help us speak to other Native American tribes, like the Hidatsa and Shoshone. I speak Hidatsa. My wife speaks Shoshone. At the time, I was pregnant When the baby came, it would be hard to travel, but I didn't have a choice. That's how things were back then. Besides, Lewis and Clark had a mission. A mission from President Thomas Jefferson. Today, the United States looks like this. But back then, the U.S. only had 17 states, only the blue part in this map. Thomas Jefferson had just made a deal called the Louisiana Purchase, where he bought the big yellow part of the middle from France. The whole area had never been explored by the U.S. government. There were so many mountains, we didn't know if we could even get through. So our goal was to examine the land, open trade relationships with the Native Americans, and find a safe path from here to the Pacific Ocean. But the only way to make it happen was with a translator who could help speak to the Native Americans who were living there. It was harder than you think. To talk to a Native American, it would translate what they said into Hidatsa, a tribal language that my husband spoke. Then, since he didn't speak English, he would translate the Hidatsa into French. Then a member of the team would translate the French into English for Captains Lewis and Clark. What did he say? He wishes you harmony on your journey. By the time we were ready to leave, my son was born. Clark gave him the nickname Pomp, after a Roman general. It was meant as a joke, like calling a child commander. It was dangerous to take a newborn baby into the wilderness. Of course it was, but we didn't have a choice. I wasn't even considered an equal part of the team. That's how things were back then. In April 1805, the Corps of Discovery set out from my village to explore this great uncharted land. There were a few dozen men. I was the only girl, the only female teenager, the only one with a baby, and the only Native American. Lewis and Clark thought it would be a one-year trip. They had no idea what they were getting into. Today, people say I was a guide, but my real job was as an interpreter. Soon enough, though, Lewis and Clark realized I had many other skills. I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat out here. Wait, the girl. Wait, she's pointing. She's saying these roots and fruits are safe and we can eat them. My people lived on this land. I knew its secrets. With a sharp stick, I'd find wild artichokes that mice had buried in the ground. We can eat those too? Look, these berries she found. These are amazing. It wasn't just food, though. This was my land. My people lived here for centuries. I understood its passageways. Which turn should we take? She says that one. How does she know? She recognizes that mountain, the one that looks like a beaver's head. That means her tribe's been here before. This is the right path. In their journals, Lewis and Clark spelled my name 8 different ways. Sometimes they called me Snake Woman or Bird Woman, but over time they learned exactly who I was. One day, during a sudden storm, my husband lost control of our boat. The vessel nearly flipped. The men panicked and fought. No, our supplies, our medicines and papers. The supplies, they're floating away. In the middle of the pioneer journey, our supplies, which could not be replaced, were needed for our survival. We were about to be lost. Hurry, do something. Someone help us. Stop panicking. Careful, you're going to tip the boat. Only one person stayed calm. Carefully balancing myself with my infant son strapped to my back, In a boat that was about to flip, I was the one who gathered all our supplies. You see what she's doing? Our instruments, our maps. She's actually getting them. That's right. It was I, a young girl, surrounded by soldiers and frontiersmen, who saved us all. I didn't wait for someone else to come to the rescue. I came to the rescue. And all the while, I also did my job as an interpreter, helping Lewis and Clark speak to other tribes. In Shoshone, we say you are not human until you learn your language. These are some of the real words from my tribe. Now, for those listening or following along, I'm probably not going to say them right, but I'll give it a try. The Shoshone word for tree is sohobi. The word for corn is ha-niib. The word for water is ba. And the word for horse is bunju. There are no words for hello and goodbye. We don't want to say goodbye forever, so we say something that's close to, I will see you later. For our expedition, the word bunju was the most important of all. If we wanted to cross the Rocky Mountains, we needed horses. Who had them? The Shoshone, my tribe. I led the way. Be careful, they might attack. I had no idea what to expect that day. It had been years since I was taken from my tribe. Our expedition had never seen a Shoshone war party. A battle could have started. But instead of fighting, both sides began to talk. Sometimes, even without words, you can communicate peace. Soon after, they invited us to meet their chief. That's when I saw my brother. And he said, my sister. It was wonderful to see my people again. We traded with them, giving them supplies and even a medallion from Thomas Jefferson. In return, they gave us horses, helping us prepare for our journey through the mountains. Eventually, though, it was time to leave. The next part of your trip will be difficult. You'll be going to places where you won't know the land. You'll meet tribes where you won't know the language. Lewis and Clark really don't even need you anymore. So may I ask, sister, why are you going with them? Why not stay here with your family? To this day, no one knows the answer. Some say it's because we had more to explore. Some say it was because I felt like I was part of the team. Some say I was inspired by the adventure. One thing was certain, the mission wasn't done. So, what would you do? The trip was never easy. We faced grizzly bears. We were hit by hail and flash floods. We ate candles to keep from starving. I even got extremely ill. She's sick. She's a fighter. That winter, our Corps of Discovery had decided where to build our camp. Usually that decision was made by men in charge, but for once, we'd like to know what you think. We need everyone to vote. Including me? Yes, Sacagawea, including you. The final decision rested with Lewis and Clark, but on that day, my vote was cast, like everyone else on the team. Did our expedition ever reach the Pacific? Yes, it did. Part of our group hiked to the water earlier than the rest and sent word back. They say they saw a whale. I want to go. To see the whale? Not just the whale. I wanted to see the ocean, which I'd never seen before. Eventually, I did. In the end, our Corps of Discovery traveled over 2,000 miles. It took a year and a half by boat, horse, and foot. I was the only girl, the only teenager, the only one with a baby, and the only Native American. In my life, people underestimated me. Since I was a girl, they expected me to be weak. Since I was young, they expected me to be inexperienced. And since I was Native American, they expected to treat me unfairly. That's how things were back then. But that's not how they should ever be. Native American people define themselves by their stories. You know my story now. It's time for you to write your story. Don't let someone else limit you. As Chief Menakok of the Yakama tribe says, we can only be what we give ourselves power to be. At the end of the expedition, Sacagawea's husband was paid $533.30 and given 320 acres of land. As his wife, Sacagawea was paid nothing. That's not fair. Today, there are dozens of parks, landmarks, poems, songs, books, and even rivers named after her all across the country. Remember, when she saved all the supplies during the expedition? When that happened, they named the river after her. Today, in Montana, it's still called the Sacagawea River. She's the first Native American woman to have her own statue in the U.S. Capitol. She even got her own coin, the Sacagawea dollar. But since there are no pictures of her, the picture on the coin is of a woman from Sacagawea's tribe. Did she really make that whole trip with her baby? Look at the coin and the statue. Baby Pomp is on both. Without Sacagawea's bravery and knowledge, the Lewis and Clark expedition might not have ever been completed. Thanks to her, they were able to create maps, engage other Native American cultures, and find a route to the Pacific Ocean. Do you know what it means to navigate something? It means finding your way. Wherever you go in life, whatever mountains you climb and challenges you face, find your own way. Make your own path. Shatter expectations. That's what I've always done. I'm a girl, I'm a teenager, I'm a mother, I am Native American, and I am powerful. The Indian woman to whom I ascribe equal fortitude and resolution with any person on board at the time of the accident, caught and preserved most of the light articles which were washed overboard. This is a quote from Meriwether Lewis, writing in his journal about Sacagawea after she saved the supplies on the famous boat ride. Wow, what a great book about an ordinary person who changed the world. Sacagawea. Remember, as Chief Menakok said, we can only be what we give ourselves power to be. Go, be powerful. It's been my pleasure to share this book about Sacagawea and her amazing life with you today. I hope to see you all again on Lunenburg Storytime. Thanks for watching.